a pineapple. It's one of the most ordinary items in a supermarket. Picked from a shelf, placed in a trolley, taken home without a second thought. But behind some of those pineapples you eat lies a story of grief, fear, and unanswered questions. In Kenya, families are once again demanding justice after a series of deaths linked to security operations at one of the world's largest pineapple plantations. The Del Monte farm in Kenya covers around 40 square kilometres, an area the size of a small city. It produces millions of pineapples every year and generates more than $100 million in exports. Yet for many people living around the plantation, it has become associated not with prosperity, but with tragedy. An investigation has found that killings have continued despite major changes introduced after earlier allegations of violence shocked the world. In 2024, Del Monte replaced its own security force with the international security company G4S, following years of allegations involving assaults, beatings, and deaths of suspected trespassers. The move was supposed to draw a line under the controversy and restore public confidence. Instead, fresh questions are now being raised. 3 men have died in separate incidences, allegedly involving G4S guards and police working on the plantation. Among them, 2 brothers. One was reportedly shot in the chest during an operation involving security personnel and police. Another died from severe head injuries after an alleged confrontation. A 3rd man was killed after being struck by a vehicle reportedly linked to security operations. Families insist their loved ones were victims. Security officials maintain they were responding to dangerous situations involving groups accused of stealing pineapples and attacking guards. At the heart of the story are 2 very different realities. For Del Monte, the plantation is a major economic asset. It provides jobs and generates export earnings. The company says it is committed to human rights and has invested heavily in improving security and oversight. For many local residents, however, life is marked by poverty, unemployment, and growing frustration. Some say desperation drives people into the plantation in search of fruit to sell or food to eat. Others accuse authorities and corporations of treating local communities as if they are a security threat rather than addressing the underlying causes of the problem. The most troubling question is why deaths continue despite years of scrutiny. Investigations by journalists and human rights groups have repeatedly documented allegations of violence linked to the farm. Supermarkets in several countries reviewed their relationship with the company. Security systems were changed. New promises were made. Yet bereaved families say little has really changed on the ground. For those families, this is not a story about pineapple exports or profits. It's about fathers who never came home, brothers who never returned, and communities still waiting for answers.
The controversy surrounding the Del Monte plantation extends far beyond the latest deaths. For years, campaigners have argued that the violence is a symptom of deeper social and economic problems. Communities surrounding the plantation often face high levels of unemployment while living beside one of the most profitable agricultural operations in East Africa. That contrast has fueled resentment and tension for decades. Human rights groups have repeatedly called for independent investigations into allegations of abuse. Previous reporting uncovered claims of beatings, killings, and other serious violence allegedly committed against suspected trespassers. The allegations triggered international concern and led some major retailers to suspend or review supplies linked to the plantation. Critics say the latest incidents raise difficult questions about accountability. If the security overhaul was intended to end the violence, why are families still reporting deaths? Why do so many cases end with competing versions of events? And why do communities continue to feel that justice remains out of reach? Supporters of the company point out that guards operate in a challenging environment. Security teams have reported confrontations with groups carrying machetes, stones, and other weapons. They argue that protecting workers and property is a legitimate responsibility. Yet campaigners counter that the use of force must always be proportionate and accountable. They argue that every death demands scrutiny, especially when vulnerable communities and powerful corporations collide.
The pressure is now growing for independent investigations and greater transparency. Families want answers. Human rights groups want accountability. And politicians are demanding that those responsible, if wrongdoing is proven, face justice. Del Monte insists it respects human rights and says security reforms remain in place. But the deaths have reignited a debate that reaches far beyond one plantation. It is a debate about power, poverty, and the value of human life. In the months ahead, the world will be watching to see whether the latest tragedies finally bring meaningful change or simply become another forgotten chapter.